Hi, and welcome to this special Good Friday Soundbite. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about this very special day in the Christian calendar. It's the day that is really the focus of everything we believe. And it's the day we remember the sacrifice Jesus made in order that every one of us could be forgiven. The Bible starts off by talking about how we humans from the very start began to disobey the things that God had asked us to do, and because of that became separated from him. Most of the rest of the Bible builds the story of how God was going to save us. In ancient times, God gave the Israelite people a set of laws that described what it meant to be good enough to be with God. They were, of course, impossible to keep, completely impossible. One of the essentials was that there needed to be justice. Where there was sin, something someone had done wrong, it had to be forgiven, and that required a sacrifice, a death. The reality of our situation was that we were all responsible for the things we'd done wrong. So we had to pay that price, each one of us. God wasn't happy with this. After all, he created us to be with him and friends with him. Friends always have a choice whether to be a friend or not. And it was that ability for us to choose that you could say landed us in this mess. So God came up with a plan. If Jesus came, Jesus who was both fully human and fully God, if Jesus came and lived a pure life, nothing ever done wrong, no sin, and then he was killed even though he didn't deserve that, that would be a sacrifice that was good enough to pay the price that we have to pay. All we would have to do is believe in Jesus and accept this gift of forgiveness. That is what we remember today. Jesus would be betrayed by one of his own disciples. Jesus would be arrested. Jesus would be tried in front of the Jewish leaders and the Roman governor. And even though no one could provide any evidence at all of even the most minor wrongdoing, still Jesus would be mocked, he'd be beaten, and eventually sentenced to die. And on that Friday, he would be nailed to a cross made of 2 pieces of wood. And about 6 hours after that, he died. And at the moment that he died, our sins were forgiven. And something happened in the Jewish temple back in Jerusalem. In that temple, there was a great curtain. It separated the most holy place that was right in the middle from everywhere else. See, that area in the very middle could only ever be entered once a year, and then only by the high priest to offer one very special sacrifice. This curtain that separated that place in the temple where God was violently torn into 2 pieces. It was huge, and this tear went from the top to the bottom. No person could reach the top. It was massive. It was God who tore that curtain from the top. It was God's way of showing that no longer would he be confined in the middle of the temple where no one could get to him. God was out. He was in the world. Our sins could be forgiven. God could get to us. The most holy place was no longer confined to be accessed by one high priest once a year. Now God was there for everyone, for all time. For me, this image of God tearing through the curtain is incredible. It's one of the most powerful images of faith for me. So today is a sad day, but when we remember Jesus dying, it's also a day for which I'm so thankful to God, because it's the day that my sin was forgiven. And that means I can get to know God for myself. God bless you, and I'll see you on Sunday, Easter Day, when we'll remember Jesus rising from death.